My name is Lindsey Ross. I'm a photographer and I specialize in historical processes, primarily wet plate collodion process. And today I'm shooting with a 32 by 24 inch camera made by Chamonix view cameras. And this is a new camera for me. So I've been working in wet plate for about 7 years. And I've always had old equipment, just whatever I could buy at the cheapest. And I decided I really wanted an ultra large format camera that was new. So I have this camera that just arrived last week, and I'm basically going to be making a photograph on glass using wet plate collodion process, which involves me creating the emulsion on the glass right before I shoot it. And let's see. So this process it was the reigning photographic process from about 1850 until the 1890s. And I am working with a vintage lens that is from the 1940s. So it's a Gertz Artar 47.5 inch lens f/15. So I'm going to be making a photo with this today. I have a darkroom here on site because I will be creating the emulsion on the plate, taking the photo, developing it, and rinsing it. All of that has to take place within 10 minutes of when the plate is sensitized. Otherwise, it dries and it's no longer light sensitive. So just the chemicals that I'm working with here today, I have collodion, which is liquid cotton dissolved with ether and alcohol, salted with iodides and bromides. After I coat the plate in the collodion, I'll be dropping it into a bath of silver nitrate, and then I'll explain some of the other chemicals as I go along. But yeah, this is basically the way they had to do it in the 19th century. All of the photographers like William Henry Jackson and Carleton Watkins had to transport all of this same equipment out into the field. Usually they did it with a string of horses or donkeys to bring it out into Yosemite or into the San Juan Mountains. But luckily I have the luxury of loading all my equipment in my truck to take it anywhere I want, anywhere I can drive anyway. So the first step that I do before I do anything is put on safety gear. I have really long nitrile gloves and a mask. To protect me from all of the chemicals. The collodion has a good bit of ether in it, and so I don't want to be inhaling all that ether while I'm working, or it might make me kind of fuzzy. So I think one of the main reasons I shoot with this process is just for the mystery and the fact that not everything is precise and totally in my control, and yet I'm responsible for all of it. But there's a great bit of magic and mystery that goes into each photograph that I am just a kind of a conduit for something bigger that's taking place. And so there's a lot of room for error in what I do, and things can go greatly wrong and be out of my control. It's a chemical process, and so there's a lot of alchemy that goes into this process. I mean, I'm working with elemental silver, and there's ether and the emulsion, and to tell you the truth, I don't know how chemically all of these things work. I know from experience how they work, but I don't understand how they work at a chemical level. But somehow I'm able to manipulate them in a certain way to make a photograph. There's a lot of unseen that happens in this process, and literally it's reading things that you can't even see with your eyeballs because it's sensitive to only blue and ultraviolet wavelengths. So it's seeing things that I can't see with my eyes and that no other humans can see with their eyes, and just interacting with a non-visible and kind of inexplicable process. It can be really unnerving, and it also can be really magical just to see how it unfolds each time. And now the plate's in the silver nitrate. It's going to sit in there for about 3 minutes until it is light sensitive and ready to load for a photo. The next step will be loading the film that is now ready into the film holder. And this is just for demonstration purposes. I would usually be doing this in the dark, but so that I can show it, we'll be doing it in the light. So I'm gonna just load the film into the film holder. So basically there's just a lot of room for error and room for things to go wrong. And so you're always like looking after the plate because we're shooting directly onto glass. It's really delicate. And back in the day, I mean, pretty much every wet plate photographer had a huge amount of work break. Carleton Watkins lost a lot of his work in a earthquake. I'm pretty sure that William Henry Jackson lost like 20 plates of work when he was in the San Juans. So you're always, you know, I'm always trying to be really delicate with the plates at each step. Oh, and then I just wipe it off the back with wipe all the silver off at the back. And also going forward, the emulsion is really delicate. So until I have this plate back in my studio, varnished, asphalted, I am going to take extra care of that plate because it can still get scratched. So, man, hold on. This is not loading properly. I have to scoot it down. Okay, and now I'm ready to go make a photo. So next it's time to make the photo, and basically I'm going to bring the image into focus on this ground glass by moving the front standard forward and backward to bring it into focus. So I'm just looking under here at the image, which is flipped upside down and backwards from reality. Okay, so once I get the image in focus, I'll remove the ground glass. And I will replace it with the film holder. So at this point, I'm not going to be able to see what the image is going to look like. So I need to know that I have the image in focus properly, and I'm ready to make an image. I'm ready to make the exposure. So lens cap on the camera. I'm going to pull out the dark slide so the film is actually exposed to the lens. And then it's a lot of trial and error to figure out the exposure for wet plate. Everybody says it's about an ISO of somewhere between 0.75 and 3, but it's really just a lot of experience that helps you determine what the exposure is. So based on my experience with this camera and this lens, all the way open at f/15, I would probably do like a 4-minute exposure at this time. So I'm going to take off the lens cap and let the camera sit open for 4 minutes. After I take the photo, I'm going to take that film holder back to the darkroom and rinse it with an iron-based developer that I've mixed up, and then rinse it with water, just fresh water. And then the plate's no longer light sensitive and I can see the actual image. And after that I put it in a fixer and the final image clears. So I'm just getting more water so that I can rinse the fixer off of the image. And I'm like I mentioned before, going to take really good care that I don't scratch the emulsion on these plates. I'm going to take them home and put a water-based varnish on them, or a Sanderac varnish, and I'll paint the back of them with asphaltum, and they'll go into the gallery like that. So all of the images I take are one-of-a-kind originals. And so the film that's in the camera is actually the object that goes on the wall.